Scientists discover a new species.
New discovery in Antarctica. Researchers find new life.
Before we go to Mars, let's first talk about Antarctica.
It's a metallic-looking object, half covered in ice.
Antarctica, the chilliest, most deserted, and even perhaps the most mysterious place on Earth. The shivering cold lands and waters are not only home to some of the most challenging environments and fascinating creatures, but also holds its fair share of mysteries. And today, we will be diving deep into them, from unknown species of creatures to structures of unknown origins. Here are 15 unsettling discoveries in Antarctica nobody can explain. Number 15. Giant Sea Spider. We start off our list with a creepy crawler from the depths of Antarctica. Now, most people are probably not big fans of spiders. And if you are one of those people, you might be surprised to know that spiders don't only terrorize the land, but also the deep sea. Meet the giant sea spider, an alien-like skinny creature with way too many legs. The Antarctic sea spider is an illustration of gigantism, in which an animal grows extraordinarily large due to a lack of predators and other conditions that would limit their growth. Interestingly, these creatures have existed for more than 500 million years. They can reach a diameter of more than 30 centimeters, or roughly the size of a chihuahua. In contrast, the European sea spider is only a few millimeters long. In depths more than 1,800 meters, Antarctic sea spiders can be found all the way down the continent's coast. Antarctic sea spiders are not actually spiders, despite the fact that they undoubtedly resemble them. Additionally, they are not crustaceans. They are actually sea arthropods. They can have 4 to 6 pairs of legs, depending on the species, and sometimes referred to as pantopoda, which means all legs. The Antarctic sea spider doesn't have much of a body to speak of, hence its legs are absolutely everything to it. They house its important organs. Its proboscis is also crucial, since it utilizes it to extract the interiors of soft-bodied prey like worms, jellyfish, sponges, and others. The good news is that marine spiders are entirely safe for us to encounter. They don't bite and they don't have venom. They merely float around and explore the ocean floor in search of food or a mate. Next, we have an unusual story that has left many people baffled and confused. An expedition team was scouting an inaccessible region of Antarctica by using drones. The land was too dangerous to cross by foot or any other means, so the drone was the only way to get a glimpse of the area. But what they found is simply astounding. The drone picked up footage of an area of frozen circle that was completely green. This green ice-like circle took them by surprise. Bewildered with this mysterious discovery, the team tried to get a better idea of what they were dealing with by using the tools available on the drone. However, they soon discovered that the green ice is extremely tough and nothing like ordinary ice. It was resistant to drill, heat, and force, unlike anything they're familiar with. This soon propelled many theories, many stating that perhaps it was remnants of some ancient technology, and possibly they found a frozen civilization under the ice in Antarctica. Others speculated that it was perhaps some otherworldly material left behind by extraterrestrials. So what do you make of it? What do you think these mysterious green ice circles can be? Share your thoughts with us down below in the comments and use the hashtag #UntoldTopic. And now, moving on. Number 14. Massive Iceberg Breakaway. If you have ever heard about Titanic, you probably know how massive and deadly icebergs can be. And as you can expect, Antarctica occasionally sends off some massive icebergs out in the wild. For global warming and other climate changes, this phenomenon is not actually that uncommon, but sometimes the size of these icebergs can be extraordinary. In 2021, a huge chunk of ice that is roughly the size of Manhattan, but more than 70 times larger, had broken off from Antarctica and floated into the Weddell Sea. According to the European Space Agency, ESA, it is now the biggest iceberg on Earth. The Copernicus Sentinel-1 mission used satellites to photograph the calved iceberg A76. The iceberg was 106 miles long and 15 miles wide, with a surface area of 1,668 square miles, according to the Space Agency. The iceberg's name is a reference to the area where it first calved. It is the 76th iceberg that the U.S. National Ice Center has been monitoring. As a result of the incident, iceberg A23A, which is 1,305 square miles in size and is also present in the Weddell Sea, is now ranked second among all icebergs in the globe. Scientists think that the recent quick melting of a number of sizable icebergs may be related to global warming, as similar occurrences are becoming more common. Researchers have been disturbed in recent years by various regions in Antarctica that are exhibiting instability symptoms as a result of a warming climate and altering ocean and air currents. Number 13. The Dry Valley. Now, when you hear about Antarctica, the first thing that probably crosses your mind is the vast valley of snow and ice. However, you might be surprised to know that not all of Antarctica is like that. There is a part known as the Dry Valley, and it is unlike any other place on Earth. The McMurdo Dry Valleys are part of Victoria Land, Antarctica's transantarctic mountains, and are referred to as the Dry Valleys of Antarctica, covering a surface area of approximately 4,800 square kilometers. This region is covered in rock, gravel, and granite, and almost looks like the surface of some unknown planet. The high sides have prevented glaciers from descending into the valley bottoms, while the low humidity levels prevent precipitation from accumulating. The Dry Valley has a salinity that is higher than the ocean around it, and as a result, it held bacteria that had been frozen for 2,800 years before being revived in 2002. Scientists exploring the region have even found mummified gigantic eels, laying on the floor for hundreds of years, almost nearly perfectly preserved. However, they fail to understand how it could have ended up there in the first place, as it is so far away from the sea. But the region is not completely void of life, as there are many aquatic ecosystems that exist even in this harsh environment, showing us that no matter how impossible it may seem, life always finds a way. Number 12. The ice fish. Next up is a unique creature living in the Arctic oceans that gives the term cold-blooded a whole new meaning. The Antarctic ice fish, true to its name, inhabits the deep, chilly waters and has icy-looking blood to match. That's right, their blood is colorless, making them very unique indeed. Like us, the majority of animals have red blood. Hemoglobin, the protein that delivers oxygen throughout our bodies, is what gives our blood its red color. Since ice fishes lack hemoglobin, their body is white and almost translucent. They also have white gills. Although scientists are unsure of the exact mechanism, ice fish can still get enough oxygen despite lacking hemoglobin. This may be due to the fact that they live in oxygen-rich waters and may be able to absorb oxygen through their skin. Or it may be because they have large hearts and plasma, which may make oxygen transport easier. They feature 2 dorsal fins that are supported by long, flexible spines, a body that is grayish, black, or brown. They can grow as long as 30 inches and have no scales on their body, another unique feature of the ice fish. In order to prevent freezing, these fish also have antifreeze proteins that move throughout their bodies. Scientists have found a habitat of 60 million nests on the Arctic floor that expands up to 100 square miles. These mysterious creatures are surely having a party down there, or chilling like ice fish, if we could say. Number 11. UFO Crash Landing Site. Google Earth has been a tremendous tool for navigation and exploring, a blessing of the digital world, some might even say. With images of almost any place in the world, it is amazing indeed. But this amazing tool has also picked up some strange images that gave birth to a lot of controversies. Take for instance this image of Antarctica, where it shows what looks like the remains of a crash site. This Google Earth footage took the internet by storm, and many speculated that it was a UFO crash landing site. It surely looks like something came flying down, crashing into the snow, and leaving a trail. What made matters even more interesting was that there was no evidence of what actually landed there. But this isn't the first time Antarctica is thought to have been visited by aliens. There are reports of countless UFO sightings and strange objects in the sky that are not all explained. A footage released on the internet shows 4 tanks carrying away some heavy objects, which many claim was a UFO. Was this the government retrieving UFOs and hiding the evidence? Antarctica is a massive deserted place, so if any aliens ever wanted to land there unnoticed, it would make sense. But whether or not the viral Google Earth footage is actually a UFO crash site or not is still a mystery. Number 10. Barnacles. Next up is a phenomenon that seems like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Barnacles, the icy fingers of death. A path of frozen corpses is left behind by a finger of ice that is slowly descending from the surface and freezing everything it touches underwater. In actuality, the Antarctic Ocean occasionally experiences this peculiar underwater occurrence. They develop downward from sheets of ice and go by the name brinacle, a mix of brine and icicle. Due to the salt content, the freezing process results in extremely cold, salty water that does not freeze. This tends to sink because it is heavier than regular seawater. As it descends, the concentrated brine takes the shape of a tube, with the inner wall constantly melting and the outer wall freezing, developing downward into an icy stalactite. The concentrated brine is cold enough to instantly freeze other seawater or anything else upon touch. This complicated procedure was initially noticed in the 1960s, but wasn't captured on camera until 2011, and the specifics are still not fully understood. A brinacle can have a 25 centimeter diameter, and can expand by many meters per day. When it reaches the ocean floor, it expands into a sheet of ice called anchor ice that is anchored to the bottom of the ocean. This ice can form quickly enough to swallow slow-moving marine life, such as starfish and urchins, freezing them to death. Number 9. Ice Age Creature, Ghost Columbola. Next up, we are going to take a look at a creature so ancient that it has survived not 1, not 5, but 30 ice ages. Hard to believe? Well, not anymore, because after years of searching, scientists have finally found the proof of its existence. A group of scientists who had been looking for it for decades recently unearthed the primitive, insect-like organism that has endured 30 ice ages in Antarctica. Byron Adams, a biology professor at BYU who frequently does research in Antarctica, said that this is what he and his colleagues lovingly call the ghost columbola. They call it the ghost columbola because it's white, like a ghost. But since they had not found it, after looking for it for years and years and years, they started to wonder if it was even real, if it really existed. The creature lives deep underground, buried beneath the snow, which is why it has been able to survive for so long, and simultaneously was so difficult to find. Their study can reveal many genetic secrets, which makes this tiny ancient creature all so spectacular. Number 8. Rectangular Iceberg. There is perhaps no artist greater than nature. Nature never fails to amaze us with creations that defy common logic, and beautiful works of art that leave us mesmerized. But how amazing can nature be? Well, how about a gigantic iceberg that is so perfectly rectangular in shape that anyone would think that it was artificially created? Perhaps cut by laser, or made with some complex machinery. That is what anyone would think the first time when they see this iceberg. It's an iceberg with smooth, even walls and 90-degree angles that look to be the shape of a perfect rectangle. The iceberg was located close to the east coast of the Antarctic Peninsula and looked like a huge floating sheet cake. During a regular airborne survey, the NASA Ice Bridge aircraft discovered the iceberg. The iceberg is around 130 feet tall and 2 miles or more long, and could fill every pool in California several times over. Experts assume that the iceberg must have broken off from an ice shelf, and the fracture caused must have somehow worked out to be completely straight. It's common for ice shelves to break off and create smaller icebergs due to recent climate changes, but to have one with such precise geometric shape is definitely a rare phenomenon. So much so that some even go an extra mile to claim that this was somehow artificially created, perhaps even by extraterrestrials. Number 7. Tiny deep hole hiding life. Next up, we have another Antarctic mystery unraveled by scientists in recent years. Scientists have been baffled by the unintentional finding of bizarre life forms while drilling through the Antarctic ice shelves. In the Filchner-Ronne ice shelf, which is located on the southeast coast of the Weddell Sea, scientists were drilling through 900 meters of ice when they came across some unanticipated organisms that were firmly attached to a rock, surviving in the darkness and bitter cold. The finds include a number of immobile creatures, including sponges and maybe numerous previously undiscovered species. Because they are so far from sunshine and any readily apparent food source, animals like these aren't anticipated to survive in such harsh environments. Marine biology experts state that it was a genuine surprise to see these animals there, as their sponge is located roughly 160 kilometers further under the ice sheet than previously known. The team sent down cameras through the narrow hole, and it picked up these images. Scientists are still puzzled by how life could possibly sustain in such conditions, and what else might be down there. Further research is required to know more, but this does raise an interesting question. Which other impossible places can life be found? Number 6. Hidden volcanoes. If you think that the Antarctic is all about ice and cold temperature, you couldn't be more wrong. Peer over the ice, and we will find something completely unexpected. If you study Antarctica's geology and geography in depth, you'll find that the region is rife with volcanic activity. Recently, a study team from Edinburgh University was able to confirm the existence of 91 volcanoes under up to 4 kilometers of ice sheets in West Antarctica using radar mapping data. Due to this finding, Antarctica now holds the title of having the planet's greatest volcano range, surpassing both East Africa and the Himalayas. Additionally, according to scientists, Antarctica is home to more volcanoes than is thought, which means there are more mysteries to be discovered. Only Mount Erebus and Deception Island in Antarctica have active volcanoes at the time. These two volcanoes are quite distinctive and demonstrate why Antarctic volcanoes are so different from any other. Mount Erebus has a lava lake at its crater, and Deception Island is an underwater volcano. An unfortunate event of November 28, 1979, still makes this section of Antarctica one of the most tragic places on the continent, when an Air New Zealand flight collided with Mount Erebus due to a flight path coordinate error, killing all 257 people on board. But what alarms scientists are not these two active volcanoes, but the 91 hidden ones buried beneath the snow. Experts fear that any sudden change can trigger a series of volcanic eruptions, which will melt a huge portion of the Antarctic ice and cause major floods across the world. It can even trigger a global catastrophe, rising sea levels, causing tsunamis and earthquakes, and destroying cities. It is terrifying to think about the danger that is hidden beneath the seemingly harmless white ice. Number 5. Antarctic meteorites. The vast lands of Antarctica hold countless secrets, including clues about the beginning of our galaxy. And these clues are brought in by meteorites. Meteorites from outer space crash all over the world, more or less. But because Antarctica is so large and deserted, it makes it much easier to scan and look for them. A team of scientists unearthed 5 new meteorites in Antarctica in February 2023, including one that is one of the biggest meteorites ever found on the continent, weighing about 17 pounds and measuring about the size of a melon. Now, meteorites don't actually crash disproportionately in Antarctica. Rather, they do so evenly throughout the world. In reality, you might be able to locate one close to your home, but given their typical small size, it might be challenging to tell them apart from regular rocks unless you have the proper tools. However, unless they go beneath the snow, they are considerably easier to notice due to Antarctica's white snowy background. Antarctica's ice sheets progressively move outward from the continent's center, encasing meteorites that land there. In certain locations, ice patches get stuck behind mountain summits and are compelled to flow upward. Strong winds erode these immobile areas, exposing and concentrating meteorites on the ice surface. In just a few decades, these regions, which are known as blue ice because of their color, have produced more than 35,000 distinct meteorites, ranging in size from a thumbnail to a basketball. The majority of lunar and several Martian meteorites have been gathered in Antarctica, where lunar meteorites were first discovered. A few thousand to nearly a million years have passed since Antarctic meteorites first touched down on Earth. As a result, they shed light on the types and quantities of meteorites that impacted Earth prior to the beginning of history, helping researchers analyze and understand more about the past, and maybe even about the origin of life itself. Number 4. The sea pigs. Next up, we have another strange creature hiding deep within the Antarctic Ocean. This creature is so abundant in some places that it makes up 95% of the mass of all deep-sea animals, yet most people have probably never even heard of them. Sea pigs are little in size when compared to humans. Most range in length from 1.5 to 6 inches. The sea pig is actually a kind of sea cucumber, despite having a pink body and a preference for the murky seafloor, just like a pig. Tube feet may be seen on the creature's back, underbelly, and the area around its mouth. Despite its unusual appearance, it is really cute. The sea pig spends its days rummaging through the murky bottom sediments, consuming small fragments of dead algae and marine life that have fallen to the ocean floor. Huge flocks of sea pigs congregate nearby when something large, like a whale, sinks to the seafloor to feast on the nutrient-rich organic detritus from the rotting carcass, again, just like pigs. Sea pigs may be the babysitters in the deep sea. Young lithodid crabs are regularly observed by researchers, climbing on or hiding under sea pigs, potentially as a defense against predators. So these tiny creatures are not just taking care of the ocean, but of other creatures as well. Who knew such an amazing little creature existed at the depths of icy cold water? Number 3. Ice disks. Next up is another strange phenomena that can be mistaken for an icy version of a crop circle. Ice disks of various sizes can be seen floating around in the Antarctic, and at first glance, they do look like something artificially created. But as we have seen before, nature has a special creative touch for geometry. And just like the rectangular icebergs, these ice circles are also a natural phenomenon, though that might be debatable with many who believe that this could have been created by extraterrestrials. So how is it really made? Ice disks are an extremely uncommon natural occurrence that take place in cold, slow-moving water. On the surface of a body of water, they are slow-rotating thin circular slabs of ice. A river's outer bends are where ice disks are formed, because the speeding water there produces a force known as rotational shear that causes ice to break off and twist. The disk grinds against the surrounding ice as it turns, forming a smooth circle. Ice circles are thought to occur in eddy currents, and the melting is what constantly keeps it rotating. However, this is still in theory, as ice circles are so rare that no one has actually seen one form. So, those alien enthusiasts are still firm believers that such gigantic ice structures are not naturally formed and are the results of extraterrestrial interventions. It remains an ongoing mystery, and hopefully we will know the definitive truth soon. Number 2. Blood Falls. Next up, we have a place in Antarctica that seems like something straight out of a fantasy movie. This is one of nature's most peculiar phenomena, the Antarctica Blood Falls. It was found by a geologist from the Terra Nova expedition in the South Pole in 1911. The world's coldest, driest desert is home to a 5-story high waterfall that is all red, giving the impression that it is falling in blood. It is the largest ice-free region on the continent and one of the coldest, driest, and most Mars-like regions on Earth. The region is known as the McMurdo Dry Valleys. You almost have a setting that doesn't even seem to belong on Earth when you add the blood-red waterfall. The water never freezes because it contains twice as much salt as typical seawater. Initially, scientists believed that some type of algae was to blame for the crimson color of the water. However, it was eventually revealed that the crimson hue is actually caused by the excess iron present, which oxidizes when in contact with air. Surprisingly, researchers discovered that this strange ecosystem is home to 17 different microbial species. Mysteriously, they have evolved to survive on sulfates instead of oxygen as a result of the oxygen shortage. This strange location not only has an extraterrestrial appearance, but even the inhabitants are strange creatures. Just another one of Antarctica's mysteries. Number 1. Ancient structures beneath Antarctica ice. Finally, we are at the end of our list. And boy, do we have something interesting. Structure that resembles a pyramid that has been discovered in the frozen expanse of Antarctica, which is a spectacular discovery. Experts claim that these ice formations are totally of natural origin, while some speculate of extraterrestrial participation or ancient civilizations. These pyramid-shaped peaks were discovered using satellite photography in the southern Ellsworth mountain range of Antarctica. Amazingly, this frozen wonders foundation only measures 2 kilometers, yet it bears a striking similarity to the famous pyramids of Giza in Egypt. Which brings the question, who or how were these structures created? On the internet, conspiracy theories abound. Some contend that these snowy peaks are connected to elite groups like the Illuminati, while others speculate that a prehistoric Antarctica covered in rainforests would have provided the ideal environment for such structures. Many experts explain that these structures just might be naturally formed mountains, but as you can expect, many are not buying that story. For now, it remains one of the most intriguing mysteries of Antarctica. As we reach the end of our video, we want to leave you with the question of what you might think these structures actually are. Until next time, take care.